to drop the bomb. This party is happening. It's no mirage. So sing it again. Even at me
Welcome to USL Live and to the Season 22 preview show. I'm your host, Romulocks, and with the new season set to kick off next week, the show today is about looking ahead, breaking down the competition for Season 22, and taking an in-depth, closer look at the current squad rosters. To assist me in accomplishing that, I am joined in the commentary booth by three gentlemen you know well. First, your USL head analyst, Mecca, aka Jordan.
Hello, fans.
I have former league administrator and season 21 champion squad member Josh, aka Yosh.
Hey.
And Yosh's teammate and current USL league administrator Demon, aka Eric.
Ni hao.
Welcome to all three of you guys. Season 21 appears to have been a great success. The 21 playoffs were very entertaining to watch. There was a lot of competition in those games, particularly in the semifinal matches that led to some nail-biting finishes. Ultimately, the betting favorite Low Life Thugs took home the coveted Golden Goblet, but Season 21 was also packed full of drama as squad infighting led to the outright implosion of one of the better teams in the league. The offseason saw the creation of 5 completely new squads, although the rosters may not be all that different in some cases. Tonight, we're going to break down all of that by examining each of these squads individually and projecting their impact on the season. For more information about USL squads and rosters, we ask that you please visit uslzone.com. Tonight, we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order because I do think it'll set up better when we start looking at next weekend's matches. So to start us off, we're going to look first at Zero Tolerance. I first want to just read out the roster for this squad, and then I'm going to pitch it to these guys, and we'll go down the list kind of talking about some different facets of this squad. First, the roster currently listed as of the 17th of March is Apollo, Brillheart, Danny, Flash, a.k.a. Iceman, Fresh, Gorilla, a.k.a. Splitta, Kevin, King, Military Police, R, Sabotage, Soul, and Spartacus, aka Dave. So let's first talk about who do you see as a projected starting lineup from that roster. Let me go to Mecca first.
Yeah, so this one's interesting because I think they have basically 12 people who could probably start depending on the week matchup. But what I went with, and this might not be completely accurate because of the meds, but I'm gonna go with Brillheart, Danny, Gorilla, Kevin, Sabotage, Spartacus, aka Dave. And then for meds, I have Apollo and Flash medding. I think Apollo needs to be in the lineup, especially if he's going to lead. But I think his best class in this squad is going to be medic. And I think if he marines, you have to bench Brillheart. And I think I'd rather have Brillheart marine in over Fresh medic. So that's why I slid Apollo to medic. And you see him in a lot of SBs playing medic as well.
Yosh,
So-
you agree with that?
Yeah, the starting lineup is pretty much the same thing. You know, I don't think you're going to see too many changes from that. Maybe Apollo ends up benching. I'm going to say MP probably benches. Soul's not going to show. R probably gets benched. Man, that's really tough because you have a bunch of good players here. I want to see Danny play. I want to see Brillheart play. I want to see King play. Sabo, I think, needs to play. Dave needs to play. Kevin needs to play. You have a bunch of Marines here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he's going to fit all these guys in. Maybe Dave's going to sit because he's playing WoW. And you also have Split. I didn't mention that either. So you have a lot of Marines here and not very many meds on this roster. So I think it's very hard to lead in med. So I think Apollo's just going to end up marining on that. And Iceman and Fresh are going to be your meds here.
Yeah, this was probably the hardest starting lineup out of all the rosters to kind of pick, because there's many different avenues that they could go. They could have Kevin or Dave or split a lead, and Apollo takes that back seat and does med, because I don't see him playing medic and leading. So it's all dependent on what they want to do there. But my starting lineup has Apollo as Marine, because I do think he's going to lead this season. Spartacus, Gorilla, Danny, Sabotage, Fresh, Flash, and K. Again, that can change up if Apollo decides to med. If that's the case, Fresh hits the bench, and you probably see King in.
Got it. So it sounds like everybody agrees that maybe Apollo does a lot more leading this season for this team. Mecca, do you think that's accurate? Anything you would disagree with there?
No, I think he does, and I do agree that it's a lot harder to lead when you're medding. But with people like Kevin, Dave, and Split on your team, and Danny actually very vocal as well, who are all experienced leaders, it's a little bit easier, and maybe one of them takes over when he meds. I think the issue is they have a lot of Marines, a lot of quality Marines that are kind of in the same tier on the squad, so it's kind of hard to figure out who would bench, which is kind of why my easy solution would be moving Apollo to med so you can start all those Marines.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Mecca. I just don't think Apollo's going to do it. I think he's going to braid, and that's going to create, maybe issues down the line. Maybe one of these guys ends up leaving. So, we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, no, it all falls down to Apollo. If he leads or if he steps back and meds. I mean, Dave can even go medic. Dave's medded in the past too.
Sure.
So it's just kind of a toss up on what these guys want to do.
Mecca, you just said that there's a Marine Corps here that's kind of the same tier level. So it's an interesting question to follow that up with. Who is the deadliest member of this squad?
I said the deadliest was going to be Danny. And I think every squad that Danny's been on, there's been a couple better Marines than him. But on this squad, I think Danny might be the best Marine, assuming Soul doesn't show, because he just won't show. So I'm just kind of excluding Soul out of all this analysis. But I think Danny would be the standout here. In seasons past, he's played with like ER or Jeff or people like that who are clearly better than him. But that gap might be closing as well. But I think he's probably the standout Marine here, so I can see him getting a lot of kills. His streams have been very deadly in the past couple seasons.
So, I think even if you add Soul on this roster, I think Danny's the best player on here, hands down. I'll be honest, it's not even close. The way he has played this offseason has impressed me more than anything. He's played with us a couple times, and he looked fantastic. He fit into us very seamlessly. I wish he joined us, but he ended up joining Apollo and those guys. But he just knew what to do, was very active and vocal, and I think he's the best player on this roster, and I don't really even think it's close. I think Solo's faded, and he's not going to show anyway. So
True.
I mean, we're all on the same page here. I also chose Danny for the same reasons as you guys. I think he is hands down their best Marine. I think Split is still a plumber. I think Soul is faded, and he's not going to show, as you guys have already said. And even if he did show, Danny is still hands down the best Marine. Like Josh has said, he has NT'd for us in the past. I did reach out to try and recruit him this season, but he went with these guys, obviously. And yeah, he's just streams on point, very vocal, and just in the right position.
Well, that brings us next to talking about the medic crew. We've had a bunch of names thrown out already. We got Apollo, Flash, Fresh, K, R. Who do you guys see as the medic team for this squad? And do you think that there's a definite two that it kind of naturally goes to? And who do you think is the leading med of that pair?
I think the default two is the same from FUP. It's going to be Flash and Fresh. I don't think that's good enough med combo to win anything. I think they both died too many unfortunate deaths, so you need a more stable medic in there. I think it was Yosh or Eric that said Dave medic. He's medded a lot in the past, and I think he's a very solid medic, and I think that solves some of your lineup issues as well. I still think Apollo's a pretty good med too. I think between those four and maybe throw in R, if nobody shows, or a stat pad game to med, I'm sure he's capable. I've seen him med versus TBS and TKO and do fine, so maybe as like an emergency. But I think between those four, you're probably going to get your two starters.
Yeah, I think I agree with Mecca here. It's going to be Flash and Fresh just because they're part of the APOC core. and I don't think Apollo wants to bench his buds. So I think that's just what it's going to end up being.
Yeah, I think again, like you guys, default is Flash and Fresh, but what I would like to see is Apollo and Dave, and then that really solves some of that starting lineup, and then you get King and Brilhart in that lineup over Flash and Fresh. But it's going to be Flash and Fresh, right?
Gotcha. Flash and Fresh, the expected team here. We've kind of talked about how this is kind of a team comprised of your sixth man off the bench. Basically, it's a whole team of that. So the question I have now for you is, who is the ninth man off this bench? Who is the guy that you don't expect to be a starter, but maybe the first that the team looks to if somebody doesn't show up? Or maybe if you want to take it a different angle, who is a player that currently is not expected to be a roster who you might expect to see big things from this season?
Yeah, this is a tough one because of all the things we've talked about with lineups so far. I think it's probably should be King off the bench. I don't think he's a bad Marine, but I just think that Nader on a lot of maps is just not very good. Like on KR, Apollos, or not Apollos, bombs, stuff like that. Just Nader's not very good. So I think he'll probably start, but I think Brilhart should probably start over him. So my answer is going to be kind of a cheat. It's going to say whichever one doesn't start out of Brill and King will be the next man up, because I think they're probably going to alternate who starts, even though King is a co-captain.
So the guy I want to see stuff from this year is MP. He's the player that I think could challenge one of these Marines for a starting spot. He's active enough. He's always in pub. Obviously, he likes the game. And I think he just needs a little bit more experience, and he needs to start getting games underneath his belt. And his aim's not bad. He can dodge. Like, the game awareness, I don't know if it's there or not because we never see him play. I want to see him step up and play this season.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even think of MP because he's just so used to sitting in spec and recording. But with Romulocks here now, if he wants to play, we can have Romulocks record the match that he's in. But same with Mecca. I've got King. Obviously, Soul, if he shows, he's plugging into that lineup. But I think it's going to be King off the bench because he's a co-captain and because of the support classes that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Let's go ahead and do that, actually. You've already mentioned that you expect King to be maybe a Grenadier. We've seen him previously as a Ripper. There's a few guys on this roster that have played specialty classes. Who would you expect to see play a specialty class for Zero Tolerance this season? And is there anything that you would recommend for them to use as a specialty class with this group?
Yeah, so King has naded a lot in the past and Ripper as well. But Kevin has been really, really, really good with mortars in this off season. Granted, we've only played on EC and Urban Decay, so there's smaller maps. But I think Kevin has been really good with mortars, so you might see him nade a few matches, especially against the lesser squads. And then, if you count AT, you got Dave as AT. And then Sabotage LMG if you count that as support, which I don't really.
Yeah, I just think it's going to end up. I see Kevin playing a lot of Nader in pub. We've played him a couple times, and he's played Nader. So if he ends up saying, you know what, I don't want to play Marine anymore. I want to play Nader. Where does that fit King in? Is he going to be a Marine? Is he going to be an LMG? I would like to see him try AT. I think it would fit his style over Dave. Dave's a fine AT too, but I think Dave could add a little bit more as like a Marine than King would. So I think, Kevin ends up playing Nader on this team. So
yeah, and the hard thing is too, all these classes are very map dependent. So I do have Kevin playing Nader, at least on Urban K, EC, Apollo's map, those three. Other than that, he'll probably be Marine. I gave LMG to King if he's in. If not King, it's going to be Sabo. Dave as AT if he's not going to med. And then if King is in, and if they run 3 supports-ish, I see King actually playing Demo.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we've all got different ways to rate the squad. I know Mecca's got a different style than Eric too. But let me just go ahead and ask you, how do you rank this squad overall, and where do you see them going this season?
Yeah, I think these guys end up third, which I don't think is probably going to differ from Eric or Yosh, but I see them finish third. I think they beat TKO pretty handedly. I think they beat TBS. I don't think TBS splits with them. TBS is an okay roster, but I think there's just too much experience on zero tolerance for them to lose. And I think they lose to the Beavers and over 9,000. So I see them finishing in third, directly in the middle. Kind of talent-wise too, they're directly in the middle. So I think it's a good spot for them. And then their plus minus on the season, I have them at plus 98.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mecca here. They're going to end up third seed. Maybe they surprise a team here or there. They have a lot of experience, like Mecca was saying. They have the Marines to kind of they're missing that star Marine, in my opinion. That guy that really carries the load for them. So because of that, I think that ends up hurting them. And the squad might implode during the midseason if people aren't getting playing time. You may see some people leave.
Yeah, that's fair. Just like you guys, I do also have them at third. And instead of plus minus, I did kind of a alphabetical grade. So I give these guys kind of a B minus. I think, as Yosh touched on, there's a lot of like-minded Marines, or not like-minded Marines, but similar skill set Marines. And like we already touched on, Danny's kind of the standout, but they are really missing that one Marine that can really open the battles successfully and consistently for them.
Well, our next squad that we're going to talk about is True Combat Overlords. This is a squad that is captained by that dude. Going down their roster real quick from alphabetical order, top to bottom, we've got Astro, Baza 7, Eva, Ghost Bomber, Kill Switch, Raekwon, Ryan B, Septicemia, that dude, Trax, and Wes Watson, also known as Manu. Starting from the top, what is our projected starting lineup for True Combat Overlords, Mecca?
Yeah, this one's a little tough too, just because there's a lot of people in the same tier as well. But I end up going with Baza 7, Ghost Bomber, Kill Switch, Septicemia as AT, Ryan B as LMG, Trax, and then that dude and Manu as medics. I do think that Manu could AT sometimes, and you slide in Kill Switch, Ava, or Astro as medic, but I think the first thing I said is probably going to be their best lineup.
I think on this squad, Manu's going to end up playing AT. And I think their medics are going to be, that dude and Eva. As far as like starting lineup, it's going to be whoever shows. My advice to these guys is they need like 2 more players. I think their roster is at 11 right now, and it may be tough for them to show 8 consistently. I mean, you got Astro, we haven't seen him in a long time. Raekwon, he shows up. Trax doesn't show up a whole lot. And then Manu, is he going to show up from week to week? Right? He may have things going on. So hopefully he ends up showing up, because I think Manu's going to be a guy that might surprise you on this team.
Yeah, so my starting lineup for these guys would definitely be Wes Watson, aka Manu. That dude is a medic. Septicemia. GB, Baza 7, Raekwon, Trax, and Astro is the second medic. I think, what you touched on, Yosh, Manu's going to AT.
Who of this crew is going to be leading?
Yeah, this is a tough question, because I've heard that a few people have already been leading for them. I know Septicemia led basically the same group last year. Ghost Bomber likes to lead a little bit, and then you always have Manu as well. Manu might take a step back, but he's also led a few SBs, so I'm going to say their main leader is probably going to be Septicemia, because he's more active than Manu, but I could certainly see Manu leading some matches as well.
Yeah, I think Manu should be the one leading, and Septicemia can kind of relax a little bit and learn from Manu. Manu's a championship winner. He's got multiple rigs. He knows what's to do, and he knows how to play on lower tier squads. So if they let him, Manu's going to teach these guys an awful lot.
Yeah, I agree. Manu should be the one leading, much like Yosh just said. Septicemia can definitely learn how to set up groups, etc., and how to kind of stay like level-headed while leading and not really tilt. You know what I mean? So their best shot, Manu leads.
Mhm.
I guess it's a question of what Manu leads as, but I agree there's a lot to learn from Manu there. Depending on what he plays as, who do you see as the deadliest member of this squad?
I think either way, deadliest member is probably Septicemia, but if Manu does AT, it definitely lowers Septicemia's ceiling. Because I think he's a better AT than he is Marine, because he likes to just dash around and hide and be ahead of the group and kind of solo. That's how he gets most of his kills. So I think that if Manu AT, Septicemia's kill ceiling goes down, but I still believe that he'll get the most kills on the squad.
So if Septicemia is going to lead, I want to see him not play AT. I think when in the SPs that I saw, he is too far ahead of his groups because he can dash. Especially with the nerfs coming into AT where you get one dash every 30 seconds. It's not going to be like where you could dash in and dash out. If you dash in, you're committed. Right? So I want to see him play Marine and see if he could actually fulfill that role. And I think you let Manu kind of, do his thing. If Septicemia is going to end up leading.
Yeah, so I think Septicemia does take the deadliest member of the squad. Even with Manu AT, I think Septicemia can still put on a good stream as Marine. Yeah, with the AT nerf, it definitely lowers, as Mecca said, Septicemia's ceiling. But again, Manu's on the squad and Manu's going to AT. So that being said, I still think he gets some cleanup kills and leads the team in kills as well.
Okay. When we turn to the medic crew, it seems like everybody here agrees that dude is going to be one of the medics. So let's go ahead and put that one aside and just talk about that second medic slot. Who do you advocate for, and strategically, why does that make the most sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think Manu's the best second med there is in there. Next to that dude, but yeah, if he's leading, it's a little complicated there. But I think if Manu ends up 18 leading, it's going to be that dude and probably Ava. If she shows to every match, but if Manu feels like medding this season, I don't know. It kind of depends on him. He's a little weird with his activity, so it probably depends on that. But I would think probably Manu ideally, but then Ava as a backup.
Yeah, I think Ava's going to end up being their second med. I think she shows to mostly all the games. She's really active, and me personally, I'm excited to see what she could bring to USL.
As long as Astro stops pulling his Goblin imitation, I think Astro's actually the second med. And then if he doesn't show or if he leaves, because as Josh said, she's been very active. She's very active in pub, and she could learn a lot while playing with these guys in Manu.
Well, maybe that answers the question, but who do you see as the 9th player on this roster? Who's going to make the breakout season coming off the bench for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be Ava. But as far as Marines go, I had Trex starting, so I'm not going to say Trex, but I think probably Raekwon comes off the bench a lot and he'll spot start. And like I said, it does depend on who shows because they seem to like kind of rotate. I think every person on their squad had at least 3 games last season. So I think it'll be very similar. And I think Raekwon or Ava will be that 9th person to fill in the spots.
So I don't think they have a 9th person. I just think it's whoever's going to show. I want to see probably another couple Marines or just players. Octavian left the squad recently, and I think that actually hurt him because I think he could have produced a lot over there. He could have been kind of the star and shown everybody that, hey, look, I'm not a trash player. I think he would have done a lot of good over there.
Yeah, I agree. Losing Octavian definitely hurt this squad. But for my 9th player, just because I had already Baza, Raekwon, and Trax in my lineup, I'm going to say Ryan B would be the 9th guy coming off the bench and doing decently if he gets to LMG.
I think that your specialties is probably just going to be LMG, but is there any other support specialty that you guys see being played for this roster this season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really consider AT support anymore. But if you did, Manu, Ghost Bomber, Septicemia, AT. No one else really plays anything else that I've seen at least, so I don't think there's another answer here, unless I'm forgetting something, but it's going to be somebody playing AT.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think Ghost Bomber if he shows up, is going to play Nader every game.
Wow.
Just random thought. I don't know.
I've seen him play demo a lot too, so he might be doing that too.
Obviously, AT is it could either be Manu Septicemia or GB. But if Manu shows he's going to AT, and then I think you see Ghost Bomber, since he's on the starting lineup, he actually plays LMG because he LMG'd for you guys last season when he got put in. And then if Ryan B gets put in, I think you let him LMG and Ghost Bomber can play Marine or Demo.
Yeah.
Using that, rate this squad overall.
Yeah, I think they're going to finish 5th place. I think TBS is a little bit too good, especially them losing Oct, I heard, for personal reasons. But so I had him 5th place, and I had him -400 on the plus-minus kills.
Yeah, I think, I like these guys. They're good people. I think they're going to end up last. Hopefully they win a game. That'd be cool. They need that one more player, though. Maybe DP. Maybe DP joins and helps them out. Somebody else that's maybe not on a squad, they could really come in and help these guys out.
It is the opportunity for some veteran leadership that could go a long way to helping these guys, more establish themselves in the league. Eric?
Yeah, like Josh and Mecca said, I do see these guys being 5th seed. Going through my alphabetical grade, I give these guys a C-. They, just have a whole lot to learn. And once again, referring back to Manu, hopefully he can teach these guys.
Okay. Our next squad, third squad up, is Taking Backs Sunday. The roster as of current is Bax, Chica, Ghost, Lunatic, Lyric, MTR3, -0, NFVI, aka Nuno, Night C, Octavian, Sailor Moonman, aka 3K Werewolf, Stoink, Universal Soldier 2K, and Wu-Tang. Let's get into projected lineups.
Yeah, so my projected for them is going to be based off activity. I think that it might not end up being it with people like Lyric and Night C and Wu-Tang, but so I'm going to have Bax, Ghost, Lunatic, Negi, Oct, Uni, and then 3K and Chica Medic. Bax and Negi have been talking, and Negi does want a Marine this season, which is why I slipped him in there. And I think 3K has been medding all off season. He's been doing actually pretty well. Surprisingly, 3K is a pretty decent medic when he's not just trying to charge in and knife Marines. So I think that's probably going to be the lineup that they use.
So I think they have a lot of players, and it's going to be a little bit of an issue for Bax to choose on Sunday who's going to play. I think that's going to be his biggest problem because he doesn't really know the skill level of all these guys. You've got some hidden talent here. I'm going to say that right now. There's a couple guys in here that they could play for some higher tier squads if they want. They just need a little bit of a chance to be able to expose themselves. So I think it'll be on who shows based on activity.
Yeah, and I mean, Bax has shown in the past he doesn't necessarily always know who to start, and that caused drama the last time he was a captain of Hellcats, right? But for me, the starting lineup is Bax, NFVI, Chica, MTR3, Universal Soldier, 3K, Stoink, and Negi.
All right. Just for my own gratification, I wanted to point out that Night C has just come back to the game. I don't know how much he's going to be playing this season, but Night C was on my first squad called Seraphim in 1999. So that guy has been around forever, and he was a god day. I wonder if he still has the chops. I'll be interested to see him play if he does make it this season. Let's talk about who is going to be helming this crew.
Yeah, so in recent SBs, Bax has been leading. I think he's kind of getting a knack for it, especially on Urban Decay, which I think is a little bit easier to lead. I think even though there's so many buildings, I think it's kind of straightforward leading. You kind of know where the flanks are going to come from, and numbers are easy to see. So I think it's probably going to be Bax that ends up leading. I know Lunatic likes to make maps and stuff, and have ideas on that, and Mike C has experience as well, but I do believe it's going to be Bax leading.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Bax. It's his squad, right? Apparently, I've been told, though, that he just learned how to flank. So if he learned how to flank, my God, the league is in trouble. You know?
All right, yeah, it's got to be Bax. I know the last time he's been captain, he's made like Mike C lead because Mike C was on the squad. He's made Lyric lead. I think this is Bax's time to step up and truly commit to leading, and he does fairly well so far from what I've seen on Urban Decay. So I look forward to seeing him keep that up and learning as he goes.
You know, this squad, maybe more than any of the others, has an opportunity for one person to emerge and just play outstanding this season and become the most dominant member of the squad. I don't think it's out of the range for several of these players to be the best on this team. Who do you all see as the deadliest member?
I think it's going to be Bax, and the way he leads as well, he kind of leads for, kind of shades towards himself. Where his spots are, he's not always going to be, maneuvering flank around. There's probably going to be a couple solos and everything like that. You probably see Mike C and Uni maybe on a flank kind of doing their own thing. But I think Baxton's, especially if he plays LMG and doesn't try to play sniper or nader or any of that shit, if he just plays LMG every game, I think he'll probably end up with the most kills on the squad.
So I'm going to say a couple people have the potential to really stand out on this team. First one I'm going to bring up is Neg. If Neg is going to Marine this season, he may should a winner here or there. He's been known to do these things. Stoink, CTFer. He's got that mouse aim. If he shows up, he could be quite deadly. Udi's always a good solid player. I like Udi. Good dude. Night C, like Romulocks was saying, if he's going to come back and be active, we may see him shot quite a few people. He used to be really, really solid back in the day. MTR3. That's the guy I'm gonna.
Gives you fits.
Yeah, I like this guy. We were gonna recruit him. I wanted to see a little bit more activity from him before we were gonna make him an offer, but Bax ended up scooping him up, so that's good on him. Like, I think he's gonna end up being the most important member of the squad, other than Bax himself. If Bax can put his team in the proper position and just play LMG all season, like Mecca was saying, not play these troll-ass classes like Ripper or, Nader or anything else. This team is going to go as far as he takes them.
Yeah, I agree with Mecca. I think Bax is your deadliest member, but I wouldn't be surprised if MTR, as long as MTR isn't medding, because I've seen in scrims he's been medding, I think he should be Marine 100%. Old Semper Fi guy is by far on this list the best Marine that they have. Even if he's rusty right now, I think he shakes that off after a few games and really emerges as quite possibly Bax's competition for deadliest player on the squad. You guys mentioned Night C. I haven't seen him log in yet. I think that's just kind of a name that's there to fill out a roster spot. Haven't seen him on.
Well, definitely waiting for that. I mean, if you got guys like Universal Soldier and MTR3 coming alive mid-season to help Bax out, this team could actually rack up some kills. Who do you see as the medics for this team? And obviously they're going to be important, but talk about the role they're going to play in the success of TBS.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 3K and Chica starting every match. I think if one of them can't show, you can see Negi or Oct or MTR3, who are all very serviceable meds. I think Oct, underrated as a med, when he plays not like an idiot, he's a pretty good player, especially in the med department. MTR3 played med in the past too on System Error and stuff. And then Negi has played med forever. I think he's got like the 4th most healing points in the history of USL. So I think you see any of those people play, but I think your main two are going to be Chica and 3K.
Yeah, I think Chica's obviously the first one that you're going to play. She's going to show every match. I think your second mid, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. We haven't really talked about Octavian at all. Does he play? What is he going to do on this squad? Is he going to play med? Is he going to play Marine? Is he going to play Ripper? How is that whole dynamic going to work out? So I'm going to go ahead and just say their second med's probably going to be 3K. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Second medic is Chica's a given. Second medic's going to be 3K. Or if he doesn't show, I think MTR3, because as somebody pointed out, Negi wants to Marine. So I think MTR3 slides into the second med slot if 3K doesn't show.
Okay. Who is our 9th player off of the bench for this team?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's probably. I don't think I had MTR in my. Yeah, it's gonna be MTR 3. I think. So I think he slots in, and I think he can play Nader, Medic, Marine, LMG. He can play any of those. So I didn't have him in my starting lineup, so I had him on there for my 9th player.
I'm not real sure, to be honest. I'm gonna go ahead and say Octavian's gonna be the one that gets benched just because Bax wants to troll him. that's what I got.
Yeah. My 9th is a toss up between either Ghost or Octavian. Just because I didn't have Mike C in my starting lineup, I had MTR3 over him. So it'll be one of those two that pop in.
Okay. Support roles. Anybody? Well, let's include AT and things like that. Give us the landscape there.
Yeah, I think you have. I don't even think we've talked about him yet, but I think you have Nuno NFEI as Nader, MTR3 as Nader, Bax LMG again. Don't really count that, and Oct as Ripper. I don't think they have a very clear AT. I don't think I've seen any of them play AT at all there. But Oct as Ripper might show a few times. And I think Bax likes NFEI too, even though he's not very active. He started like every game for Hellcats like 2 seasons in a row. So it's one of those two are probably going to be playing some sort of support class.
Yeah, I think that pretty much I agree with Mecca. I don't think these guys should be running like a Ripper or anything like that. If anything, I'm going to see Octavian play AT. I think it'd fit him. Fit his style. I think he'd do well in that role.
Yeah, I think I've seen him play it a few times. He did pretty decently, so second that.
Yeah, I see LMG obviously going to Bax. Nader's going to be Nuno or MTR3. If Octavian does get in the lineup, I actually see him playing either Demo or Ripper. Like you guys already said, they don't really have a clear-cut AT, and I just don't see Octavian passing up Demo over AT.
Can I say one more thing here? This may be a little controversial, but I think Nuno should be the one benched.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. He doesn't know how to shoot a mortar.
Fair.
Hold on, let me chime in. I did watch him get a 3-man kill mortar to save Bax's life in that little south building.
Okay.
So he's been getting good with mortars.
He was
working and improving.
5 minutes after that, by the way.
Putting in that effort.
Decay, so.
Well, let's rate this squad overall.
Yeah, so I have them finishing 4th place, and I have them at a -180 for plus minus.
Yeah, I have them 4th as well.
Yep, I also have them 4th, and for my alphabetical grade, I give them a C+.
Okay. Next, we're going into over 9,000 current roster: Champion, Demon, God, Iron, Nosekeeper, Pilaf, aka Yosh, Pister, Shasta, Sav, Trizance, and Water. Let's start with projected lineups.
Yeah, I'm just going to guess here. I don't know if Champ's active or not, so I left him off for now. But I have Eric, aka Demon, God, Nos, Pilaf, aka Yosh, Shasta, Triz, and then Sav and Iron Med. Obviously, if Champ shows somebody gets benched, I'm not sure who right off the bat, but I'm not sure how active Champ is going to be. And, Nos is only going to show about half the games too, so you'll probably see a couple different starting lineups here.
Yeah, I'm not going to really say too much about this. We have a couple people that could fit in and kind of med. That's going to be the interesting part. Who's going to end up being the second med for us? Mm-hmm. So that's, the Marines are kind of set, That's going to be who's going to end up being the second med.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a page off of Mecca just because we know that Chris is really only going to show for playoffs. So I also left him out. But it's going to be Sav, Triz, myself, Iso, Shas, Nas, Iron, and Yosh for the starting lineup.
Okay. Next up, leading the squad. I think we got a pretty good idea, but let's go through it, Mecca.
I think it's probably obviously going to be Sav, and Yosh and Eric obviously talk a lot too. So if Sav can't show, probably be Eric taking over. But I'm assuming every game's going to be led by Sav.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, we've actually had a change in leadership. Most people don't know this, but Triz has actually She's been leading our SPs from now on.
I can see that.
For all who don't know, Triz he doesn't
Giving you
talk,
the
so-
silent treatment, is he?
Yeah, he's just macro leading. We've decided to go back to that.
1999 all over again.
Yeah.
Eric, unless you have any comments on this, I can skip that part. It seems like we know who the leadership core is.
I will say that Trizins took a page out of Par, and we did the silent SBs with him playing music over the microphone.
Love it. Love it. What kind of music does he listen to is the key question.
30 Seconds to Mars.
Okay. It's respectable. Let's talk about Deadliest Member coming off this season. I mean, I think we have history with Eric doing it, but who do you see getting it done this season?
I think it's going to be Eric or Iso again. Probably Eric. My dark horse, if Nas shows to every game, which is probably not going to happen, he could probably end up with the most kills. But I'm going to go with Eric for now.
I'm gonna go Triz.
I'm also going Triz. I think he's going to shock some people, and as the season progresses, that rust is going to shake right off.
Mm-hmm. He's played really well so far in the preseason from what I've seen.
And he is one of the greatest players to play Marine in this game. So you love to see him coming back. You love to see him on a starting roster again. It was kind of depressing to see him on the free agent list when I came in at the end of last season. Let's go to the medic team. I think, again, we have it shored up, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's... I don't know, Josh is speaking in cryptics here, but I think it's going to be Yosh or Sav and Iron, but I could see, Water is a really good medic too, depending on who shows. I could definitely see Water, medding some games. Pister has medded games in the past too, so I think you have some options. I think the main two are Sav and Iron, but I think you can see Pister and Water med in some of these games this season.
And Yosh, Eric, not to put you guys on the spot, if we need to move on, you just let us know.
Nah, I mean, Mecca's got it right. I mean, that's no secret. I mean, our lineups face up, so.
Yep, I mean it's top two Sav and Iron. In the games that like Chris and Nas don't show, you plug in Pister to med or maybe even Water.
Okay. Ninth player. We haven't talked a lot about this. Shasta joins the team this season. Trizins joins the team this season. But who becomes the ninth person off the bench for this crew?
Yeah, that's a good question. With Champ and Nas kind of here and there, it's kind of hard. I think it's probably going to be Pister, just because I do see him coming in to med some games where Nas and Champ don't show, or maybe he still plays Marine and Sav med. So I think he's kind of the reliable off the bench player that they've used quite a bit in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say Water. Water's gonna probably come in and med some games for us. Do good.
Yeah, it really, again, just because a lot of us have vacations and whatnot, and obviously Champ and Nas are already spoken for, there's going to be a lot of times where both Pister and Water come in, so they're both kind of in my ninth player slot right there.
Understood. Support roles and any specialty roles, who do we expect over 9,000 to play?
If Sav cannot med, I think you can see him as AT. I think Eric plays AT on some, even though he's kind of giving it up, it looks like. Champ demo when he shows. Nos Ripper sometimes, depending on the squad. Yosh Nader, Yosh AT. So I think you have a few different options you can go with, depending on the map and matchup.
I'm gonna say me. I play everything. Not well, keep in mind, but I do play it.
The games ESO shows he's gonna LMG. That's pretty set in stone for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But the games he's not gonna show, I think Yosh picks up either AT or LMG or Nader, depending on the map. If Sav isn't medding, he's gonna AT, and then Chris is demo.
A man of many hats, Yosh. We look forward to seeing it.
Not very well though. That's the problem.
They're all fedoras, unfortunately.
Let's rate this squad overall.
I have them placing first just because of historical, and they have a really good lineup this year. And then I gave them a plus 400 on the plus minus scale.
I think this is the season we go dead last. We're gonna implode. Eric's gonna end up, be on super pump rage.
Going full tilt.
Yeah, full tilt. We hear Sav and Iron get in a fight on the mic. and then I just disappear.
The re is just too loud.
Yeah.
Eric's gonna go back to his old ways and squad hop over to Taking Back Sunday.
He's gonna join that dude.
Oh no. I obviously give us an A+ for the alphabetical, and just because nobody has proven that they can beat us yet, I got us at first.
Fair. Let's go into your best competition, I think, for this season. I think everybody kind of agrees. Fifth team up is Hungry Beavers. The roster, as of right now, is Aerith, a.k.a. Staley, Colossal, Fairfax, Fausto, Kaga, Mecca, Mercy, Romulocks, Spoils, Tactical, The Gift, and The Mountain. Who is the projected starting lineup for that?
Yeah, so obviously I'm gonna have a pretty good idea of this, and Kaga's not gonna show it every game, so I'm just gonna not include him in the starting lineup. I think he will start when he shows, but you don't ever know how many he's gonna show. Is he gonna show 2 games? Is he gonna show 3? Hard to tell. So keeping that in mind, I have Colossal, Fausto, myself, Tactical, TG, Mountain, and then Aerith and Fax Med. Everybody pretty much shows every week. Sometimes Fausto's busy, so you could see somebody slide in for him. If Kaga shows, he might slide in for him, or we bench somebody else. I haven't figured that out yet. And then Mercy will probably get a lot of playtime this year as well, just as that third medic off the bench, and then you'll see Ramen Spoils as well.
Yeah, I think it depends how many games Kaga's going to end up showing, what their roster looks like. And then I think Mecca has a lot of interesting decisions. Who gets benched at that point when Kaga does show?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to bench the Mountain? Who ends up getting benched? That'll be the question.
True. So just to answer that, I think Staley benches and Kaga slides in as med, but that's only when Kaga shows. So my starting lineup for these guys would be Colossal, Mecca, Tactical, Fausto, Staley as a medic, Fax as medic, TG, and the Mountain.
All right. It's kind of the same team as last season with a little bit of variation, a few new players. But who do you see leading the squad?
Well, let me stop you right there. There's only 5 people from Deadweight on the squad, so less than half. Anyways,
Completely different. My mistake.
Fausto's gonna lead. If he ever doesn't show, I'll lead. But it's mostly gonna be Fausto with me and Ernie, and everybody at Fax. Fax is very vocal in the squad as well, so a couple vocal people in the background, but it should be Fausto leading every game.
I got nothing to say here.
That's nothing to add to that. You heard it from the man himself. Well, let's go ahead and talk about. We have the deadliest member next. Let's talk about that. Who off of this roster is going to put up the most?
I think it's going to be Ernie. I don't think it's a surprise. He's been the deadliest Marine a couple times now, and he really also plays well in this system. Especially adding Jeff in, so then Ernie doesn't even need to flank. Ernie can just solo the whole time. Jeff can flank with TG. But I do think Ernie plays a lot of demo this season as well, especially on maps like Urban Decay, EC, stuff like that, smaller maps. You'll see demo getting played by Ernie.
I think this is gonna be a little bit of a shock, but I think Jeff steps up this season and ends up being the deadliest player.
Now that I can talk and not get cut off by Romulocks,
Sorry about that.
I'm going to agree with Yosh. I think Jeff steps up. I think it puts a lot of pressure, or takes a lot of pressure off Ernie, and I think Jeff. I mean, it'll be a toss up between those two, but I think Jeff takes the deadliest member for this team.
Okay. Going to that medic team, it seems like we have some disagreement about who the best medic team would be, but I think Mecca said he sees, Staley and Fax mostly starting. It depends on the availability of Kaga. Let me ask just Eric. Eric, let me focus on just you for this one. Why do you recommend that Kaga start?
I think Staley is a liability. I don't agree with the fact that he's returned to form. I think he catches too many nades, too many laws, and he gets caught out of position. I love Nick. I love Staley as a person, and I love playing with him. But I don't think I think he should even bench for Mercy, personally. But I know I know he's part of that Ernie Mecca clique, and they go way back. But that's just my opinion.
Yosh, do you agree with that? You concur?
I I'm in shock. Eric is taking
Bringing the heat.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Staley does have a tendency to get a little bit out of position here or there, but that might be due to leadership too. You know, so I think these guys picking up Fax was a huge addition, and I think he has a lot to this team. And I don't know who the starting medic is, if it's Staley or Kaga.
Well, Eric, do you think Kaga and Fax would provide? Let me just say, if you had that as your medic core, do you think that is a championship contending team at that point?
Kaga and Fax, absolutely.
Okay.
Animal Legends.
Let's move on then to ninth player. Who is your man off the bench? Who gives the surprises this season, or is the guy that gets called up the most?
I'm not going to call Kaga. I'm not going to say Kaga because I think it's a little cheating because I think he will start when he plays. But that's an activity thing. I think it's going to be Mercy because I think Mercy, if we don't show a Marine, Mercy can slide in. If we don't show a medic, Mercy can slide in. So I just think his positional adaptability, and you saw him play on good squads before, and I know I played with Mercy tons and tons and tons of seasons, so I trust him as well. So I think he can come in as either medic or Marine, and that makes him the ninth player.
So I think the first guy off the bench is probably, if everybody does show, like say Kaga gets active, right? Which is not going to happen, but if that were to be the case, the Mountain would end up being the odd man out. So.
And do you think that creates issues? Let's poke one layer deeper, Yosh.
Oh yeah. Well, he wants to start. Everybody knows this, but so does everybody else on that team.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody does show, who gets benched and who gets mad and leaves? It's going to happen. Somebody's leaving.
I knew the drama was there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's coming. And Mecca knows it's coming.
Eric, what about you?
Well, it's going to be yourself or Mercy, based off of if one of the meds can't show. I'm pretty sure in the past Mecca said, at least for dead weight, Staley has a little bit of a harder time showing to the later matches.
Mm-hmm.
And if Kaga doesn't show, I think either yourself or Mercy plug in there.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to sub in at med at the last second. Yeah. Let's talk about support specialties. Who do you see from this roster playing a support role, and who do you see doing it well?
I think we have a few people who can play a lot of support classes. Some of us have been around forever, so I think you can see Jeff as a sniper, ripper, nader, depending on the match, depending on the map. You can see Ernie as AT or demo, map and match dependent. Myself, I might play ripper, nader, demo, and then I'll probably play a lot of LMG this season as well. And then there'll be a few other ones mixed in, but that's probably going to be because SV and TG really only like to play Marine, so probably all you'll see from them. Same with Fosto.
I would see Ernie play Sapper. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I have either Mecca or Kaga playing LMG. If Kaga shows and kind of holds true to what Yosh is thinking, I think he slides in and plays LMG. If not, he's gonna med obviously. And then I see Ernie playing either AT or demo, map dependent.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's rate this squad overall. Fifth squad, where do you see Hungry Beavers finishing?
I see second for us, and I have us at plus 330. I think we have a better lineup than Deadweight though, so I think we have a better chance to split with over 9,000 over the season. We might still lose, but I think we have a lot better chance at this rate. So yeah, I'll give us a plus 330 on kill death.
I think this is the first seed right here, boys. You're seeing the end of the Solve Dynasty.
Wow.
That's all I got to say.
Over. Top of the statues.
Brainbug's gonna take rations. I see these guys with the second seed, and I also give them an A+ for the alphabetical grade.
Okay. Well, that ends in terms of squad analysis. Let's do a little bit of looking ahead here. First of all, we have our first week matchups next weekend. That starts the 24th of March. Still time to get into the league if you're interested, by the way. But one of the big changes we're going to see is the addition of a new map. Urban Decay, conceived and developed as the brainchild of one of our developers, Military Police, This is a small map designed to increase the amount of combat that we see in matches. For the last 2 weeks, staff and players have been playtesting the arena, and we've seen some significant changes to help provide balance between Titan collective spawns, as well as to benefit more fluid squad movement. What is your position on the map design as it currently stands, and what are your thoughts about Urban Decay being included in the rotation as our first competitive map this season?
I'll start with Urban Decay. I like Urban Decay. I think there's a few more changes that need to be made, but I think we've had some positive changes before. I think it plays interestingly, unlike most maps, so I do like that aspect of it. But I do enjoy the map. I think there's still something with the Kali advantage that needs to be fixed. Well, I'm not sure yet. We still got a week of SPs to figure it out. And there's a few tree placements I don't really like, but other than that, I do think it's going to be a fun map, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how different squads play on it. Because if you're a squad that camps a lot, this map could be very good for you. If you're a squad that likes to play out in the open, you could get flanked a lot. So it's just going to be interesting how it all plays out and we have some pretty good matchups on it as well. So we'll really know how good of a map it is.
I like this map. I think it's very fun. The battles are fast paced. There's a lot of interesting spots to fight in. As far as like Kali versus Titan advantage, I actually like playing from Titan on this map more. It's just me. I think it's just fun overall, and thank you for MP for making it.
Yeah, I think the only reason I like playing from Titan better now is just because of that stupid portal. I think that's a clear indication of Kali having a pretty big advantage. You have to implement something like that. So there's definitely some tweaks that need to be done. But overall, I'm a fan of the map. I appreciate MP taking the time and creating it, and I'm glad we were able to get the vote to pass it through to add it to the rotation for this season.
With that said, let's look ahead to this weekend featuring Urban Decay as the map. We have 3 matches this weekend. Currently, 2 of them are scheduled. One of them remains to be scheduled. But as it looks right now, we have Hungry Beavers playing at over 3,000. We have over 3,000, over 9,000. Excuse me, tried to minimize you guys a little bit there. Over 9,000 playing at Zero Tolerance, and True Combat Overlords playing at Taking Back Sunday. Let's start with the games we just kind of discussed in terms of squad analysis. Hungry Beavers versus over 9,000. Take it away, Mecca.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really interesting matchup. I think we've SP'd a couple times. I don't remember how many. And it was pretty close the one time. And I can't remember if we've SP'd more than once, but we've SP'd a few times. I think both of us have been really good on this map, especially playing other teams. Even like the third place team, you'll see us and over 9,000 kind of beating them down quite a bit. It's just going to be interesting to see who shows obviously, but 2, which support classes are going to be played. Like, does Eric or Sav AT if they can? Does Ernie demo? Does Champ show up in demo? That kind of stuff. Do you run a nader for the first fight to try to get a cheeky mortar kill? Something like that. So I think the fight will be pretty close at half. And I think depending on the classes is when you'll really see it. Also depends on side. I don't remember how we're doing it this season, if it's coin flip again or what. But I think whoever gets Kali wins this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be within a battle or 2. But I think whoever ends up getting Kali will win this game.
So I think this match depends on Fausto. Can he lead with a favored roster? We've always seen him lead with underdogs. But how is he going to perform when he has a favorite roster now? There are no holes now. But in the past, he's always had, players that were like, I don't maybe know. But now you have a team of great players. Can he make them all go in the same direction? That's going to be the big turning point here.
Yeah, just to answer Mecca's question real quick, it is by coin toss again. I added that into the rules as well when we updated them. So it'll still be the coin toss via the captain's chat on Discord to determine sides. And I agree, whoever gets Kali probably wins. I agree with Yosh's take as well. I'm curious to see how Fausto will lead a stronger lineup than he's used to. And will his leadership style tilt some people? Will some of these guys, for the most part, they're all on the same page, but there are times where people are going to be a little bit more passive than, let's say, like SV or Jeff like to see. So it's going to be interesting to see how they all mesh together in an actual match and how Fausto gets them to maneuver and get on the same page.
It looks to be a really good game, an amazing week 1 game. That game is set currently for 11:45 p.m. Eastern. At least it's scheduled on the website that way. Let's look at a couple of the 2 earlier matches. First up again will be the first match for over 9,000 for the night, which will be against Zero Tolerance. Let's talk about that one, Mecca.
Yeah, I think over 9,000 wins this. I think if Zero Tolerance gets Kali, it's closer. I don't think it's all that close in the end. I think over 9,000 probably breaks through. Halfway through, you might see a surprisingly close game, and then over 9,000 will just take over, just from endurance, essentially. You do have to watch out for the support classes on Zero Tolerance, and most of the leaders on Zero Tolerance love to camp and set up plays. So there is, it's always hard to predict a match score when you have a team who plays so passive. So that's why I think it's going to be a lot closer in the first half. Zero Tolerance will run a couple plays, maybe even grab the lead of the first battle or something like that. But then over 9,000 will push, get the lead, and then once you see Zero Tolerance have to push, that's when the game really breaks down. I think they've proven in the past that core can't really push when they're down.
And Zero Tolerance has kind of put together their squad kind of at the last minute here. So it'd be kind of the first opportunity to really see what that squad looks like in formation, like what it looks like now that they've come together and they have their starters. I'll be really interested in that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we win this match. I think they're just going to camp. We're going to find them. We're going to kill them. It's going to be like, I think Apollo is going to lead differently from Kevin. I think he's going to try and engage in a little bit more fights, which should make it more exciting and honestly give these guys a better chance of winning. But I think if they just try and camp and just hide on buildings or whatever, then, it might be a low-scoring match that we just win.
I mean, there's a reason I renamed the defense banner to Bulwark of the Apocalypse in honor of Apollo and how much he camped on APOC. So I do see them camping, but I see us busting through that first play and not necessarily wiping them, but getting a high enough advantage to the point where we are pushing their base. And from there, we just kind of take over.
Okay, and be a snowball effect at that point. We'll see. It'd be interesting to see. That one's yet to be scheduled, it seems like. But the first match set for the night is going to be at 10:15 Eastern. That'll be True Combat Overlords against Taking Back Sunday. Mecca, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think Taking Back Sunday wins this. They've been SPing a lot during the week, and I think when TBS has some NTs in, they win by a lot. When they don't have NTs, they still win. It's just not nearly as much. So I think, Bax will be very active this week. The more he practices leading, I think the better they'll get, especially because we've been playing on Urban Decay for 2 weeks now. So I think he's really getting the map down. And it's a new map. So, he has as good of a chance as anybody on that. And I think that the way that Septicemia leads doesn't really play well on this map. Everybody go out north. Everybody fall back kind of stuff. Just the way he leads, I just don't think is very good for this map. If Manu decides to lead, I think they, do some interesting ambush plays that Bax will not really think about, because he's going to be focused on killing. So we'll see how that plays out. But I do think Take Back Sunday wins this by probably 24-25, somewhere in there.
So this could have been match of the week, in my opinion. If Apollo was still on that dude's squad, I think it'd be a lot closer. But since these guys lost Octavian, my bad.
Octavian,
Yeah, I think probably Bax runs away with this game. He's got a better roster than they do. They're SBing right now. I mean, I've seen them do nothing but SB constantly. And for poor that dude, anytime Bax wins a squad battle, he just pretty much posts his stats and, just kind of making fun of that dude and his team now. Which is, you hate to see it. Poor that dude, he's out there trying to give it his best, and here he's just getting shit on all the time by his supposed friend.
Beat down.
Feels bad, man. When is that dude gonna learn?
Sad. How
Big
sad.
sad. When is he gonna learn, Eric? You know?
I mean, that dude is probably one of the nicest people on this game. Sometimes can be a little bit annoying with his bong pings and private messages. But other than that, I don't think he takes anything back says or does to heart. So good on him for that. But I do agree he does need to learn and kind of start thinking for himself a little bit. But this, like you said, could have been match of the week if it wasn't for us versus Hungry Beavers, I think. If Manu shows, I could possibly see an upset.
Wow.
I could see True Combat Overlords possibly winning if Manu shows and leads. That being said, that's just hypothetical. I still think it's favored for backs. I think he just, like you said, has the stronger lineup. If Octavian was still on TKO, then it could have really been a toss-up, right? But I just think TBS is one, way more active, two, has a little bit more veteranship spread throughout the roster, whereas TKO is really just Manu. So yeah, I think Bax wins this one.
I'm gonna go and say I wasn't gonna say this originally, but you know, some people on that dude's squad are, you know, they feel a certain type of way. You know, when Bax is talking about them in, you know, the spec chat and the Discord. You know, I'm not gonna name names, but you know, some of them guys got some pride over there, and they're like, "Why is this guy talking trash about us when that was our friend? We're trying to learn the map, and you know, here he is talking trash about us."
Trash talking backs. Well, I think it's going to be a great weekend of games, especially with that Hungry Beavers over 9,000 game right off the rip. It should be a fun one to watch. Also, TKO versus TBS. It should set the stage for what the rest of the season is going to look like. We hope to see everybody there. Do any of you guys have any final comments for the preseason show here?
I will just say the match for over 9,000 and Zero Tolerance is scheduled. It'll be the first match of the night at 9:30.
Okay.
So I have one thing to say. We're looking for players. Come join us. If you want to be on a squad, hit me up, and that includes anybody, right? And you know, we'll take a chance on some people. Or if you're on a squad and you feel like you're gonna bench, come talk to me. Maybe I can fit you into a starting roster.
To that point, there are people still on the free agent list who very much belong on a squad. We'd like to see you get joined up, man. Just get involved. Even if you're only going to be able to make it to a few games this season, we'd like to see you on a roster and involved and your name in the list. Anybody else? Mecca, anything final?
No, I was going to point out the free agents too. I see Revenge online, so hopefully Sav and the boys pick him up again. But yeah, there's some starting quality people in the free agency right now, so we'll see if they end up and if it changes anything.
Absolutely. I don't want to target anybody individually, but I think that's exactly the way I would say it. There are several starting eligible players still on that free agent list. All right. As Yosh was saying, just a reminder that it is not too late to sign up to play in Season 22. To sign up or to review rosters, match statistics, or other league information, we ask that you please visit the website at uslzone.com. And if you've made it this far and you aren't yet a regular player of Infantry, there are a host of game modes to enjoy, and we would encourage you to give this game a try. It's available right now to download and play at freeinfantry.com. That'll do it for us today. Thank you to our executive producer, MP, for Romulocks, for Mecca, for Yosh, for Demon. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you all next weekend for the kickoff of Unified Skirmish League Season 22. See you there.